time for us to talk, the realities of building a startup in Nigeria. Before we go on, I just was checking the ease of doing business rankings. And Nigeria is currently 131 in the world, below countries like Togo, Malawi, Djibouti. I'm not sure a lot of us, no offense, but Djibouti is like literally, in the corner of the continent. But that's how bad we are. Below Uganda, yeah. So, yeah, I'm joined here by Joyce Awashika, who's a founder of Oriki, a business that's, I'm sure you have a lot of stories to tell about your journey up to where you are now. But when you hear things like this and how much the government says about, trying to, do better with ease of doing business, and we are still at that spot, it feels like nothing has changed. And as running a business from when you started and now, have you seen any differences or heard from people who are starting businesses?
To be honest, it's painful to hear those statistics, and it's quite sad. But it's not so alarming because building a business every day, you realize the struggles. In the past 6 years, I can't say I've seen much of a difference. The government has made some attempts in making the CAC incorporation easier, for example. But we have a long way to go. Yeah. We should be creating more enabling environments for entrepreneurs to thrive.
Yeah, that's the problem. Sorry to cut you, because people say CSC is just a small part of the entire process. The policies and the constant policy change that we see. Today there's a policy in a week's time, it's reversed, or something is banned. All of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the policies. It's let us understand exactly what we should be paying for. For example, you're hounded as a business person. You don't know exactly what taxes or liabilities or even agencies. Just making it easier for us to really understand the terrain, it would go a long way in supporting businesses. There's a saying that a lot of entrepreneurs say. It's almost like you have to create your own government. You have to go out there and find the information, or just wait for it to come to you, be surprised, and then we're always on a defensive mode. Whereas instead of having the knowledge we need to succeed. Yeah.
I get you there, because you hear a lot of the stories from people who are still trying to, because in the time now everybody has like 5 or 6 hustles,
so many.
or jobs, but we call them hustles. So, you have your main job, you have 3 other things, you're starting, you're selling clothes, you're doing hair, you're selling weaves, there's just multiple things. So people are constantly trying to do things. Yeah. But, at the same time, you hear the same challenges, and it's the same challenges you hear over the years, from everybody. It's, like you said, the multiple, I don't know how to call them taxation of fees or levies, that come. Yeah. It's the power issues, it's all of these things, and it just makes you wonder, as a business, how do you survive? How do you handle it in a place like this? What do you do to stay afloat? Because you've been in business for how long now?
6 years now.
And what has kept you going?
Wow, great question. Honestly, it takes willpower. So we can start with the character aspects and the attributes we have to have. You have to be relentless, willpower. But then it's also just actively seeking knowledge and information. So for me, we turn up for all kinds of events and information that will benefit us. Like recently, NEPC had a workshop for how to export, for example. When you get there, you realize that there's valuable knowledge that you didn't even know. Okay, so if you want to export, you have to get 3 different certifications. No idea. But you attend that and you find out more information. So it's like you actively have to find out. You have to be networking. Running a business in Nigeria requires networks. It's guaranteed. There's so many times that I go out of my way to share with those in my atmosphere, in my sphere of space. Ladies, if you don't know this, guys, if you don't know this, you need to find out, sign up for this, there's a workshop on this. Those are the ways we've survived, honestly, because like I said, there's not one place we can plug into and get all the information and knowledge that we need.
Yeah. What's the one rule you would give someone who's trying to start a business in Nigeria today?
Create a sustainable structure. I cannot overemphasize that. What do I mean by that? You have to build the business as if it cannot operate. It doesn't need to operate with you there. And a lot of people are starting businesses, Me Too businesses, businesses that just because it seems like it's a fast or attractive sector, but they're not creating the structures. You have to create systems, processes. You have to plan. People discard the idea of business planning, but it's key, especially in an environment like here. You have to be able to plan so that you can mitigate risks that come up faster. Yeah. So I would say build sustainable structure, build systems. That's the one rule.
In spite of all this we see, Nigeria tops the list recently of I think it was Lagos, especially with tech, the most startups you know, and you just wonder, what then keeps making people want to start businesses here? Because, you know, people say, oh, is it really worth it? Investors are not coming, the environment is not thriving. So what then is still the attraction to start a business here?
I mean, this is a fast-growing nation. It's a fast-growing part of the world. To me, it's the last stop. Like, it's the Africa Rising. The continent is just a continent that is full of opportunities. I think people look around every day and they're seeing problems that need to be solved. But the question is, you can start, but then it's like, how do you continue? And how do you finish? How do you continue strong? How do you finish strong? So, I mean, naturally, I commend anyone who's starting, but they have to realize that once you get in there, there's a lot of work to put in there. There's a relentless spirit you have to have. There's the ability to be able to think quickly, act fast, and be able to take detours. That's just another thing that comes with this business.
Two questions, but let me start with the first now, social media. And we all see when Twitter was suspended, which it still is, you know, how people complained about, you know, people sell stuff on social media. But there's also a lesson that came out for a lot of people. They're like, oh, you shouldn't rely so much on social media. But not everybody has the funds, for example, to get a store or, you know, so what do you think about, you know, what social media has become? We see even on Instagram now, there's an entire tab now for businesses where you can buy and sell. Instagram is sort of morphing into this business app, you know, so it's almost like physical spaces are no longer that important. What do you think about that evolution?
No, I think that's just the way forward. Like, the times have changed. Tech is here to stay, and people need to plug in, right? So marketplaces are now, a lot of them are moving from brick and mortar to the technological space. And it's allowing people to exchange quicker. Now, for me, the biggest lesson learned when Twitter went down is that you need to connect with your consumer in other ways. So when you're doing that transaction, get their email address. Like, you must get their email address to be able to then create a database, because email is not going anywhere, right? So you'll be able to send a newsletter off, say, I'm still here, you can buy this way. But also, please, Flutterwave. All these companies are creating marketplaces where you can actually, you don't need a website anymore. You can just list all your products and people can come on there, use their card and purchase. And that's the way forward. Now, again, it depends on the kind of business you're in. You know, there's always going to be room for brick and mortar. But if you're selling fashion, for example, you don't have to be you don't have to be stranded and think that you have to just get a building. You can actually go online.
Final question now. I mean, COVID, of course, was also a big turning point for a lot of us. And I know your business involves physical contact even. How did you survive that? What do you advise businesses? Because we don't know when the next pandemic is coming or whatever it is that might shut the world down. But how do you handle a time like that going forward?
To be honest, I think there was a huge place for innovation during that time. We initially in March 2020, we thought, wow, this is really probably the end, you know, for a while, because physical touch. But for us, we realized that people would need this service. People would need the pampering, even more so. You know, they would be stressed out. They would need the rejuvenation. So we detoured and we started doing home services for those who were interested, and we couldn't even fill the demand. So my charge to entrepreneurs is to be innovative, you know, to think about what people will need as a result of the pandemic and then move on from there.
Thank you very much, Joycey. Oriki, a spa, amongst other things, a relaxation spa and products, of course. You can check her out on social media and, of course, on their website.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being here today. Well, like I always say, you can follow the conversation on social media. Please use the hashtag Rubbin Minds when you send us a message. I'll see you next time.